Hi, it's Jules with Love. I'm here sharing insights and highlights from my blog, Happy Marriage Guidelines. And I also thought it would be a good excuse to put on my veil from my wedding 22 years ago. I quoted Malcolm Gladwell in my post, who has written books such as Outliers and Tipping Point. From the book Outliers, he states it takes roughly 10,000 hours of practice to achieve mastery in a field. I love relating this statement to marriage. I'm not claiming to be an expert by any means. However, I have put in more than 20 minutes a day for over 20 years on my marriage. So yeah, I'm claiming mastery in this field. Proudly, with no BS, my marriage is filled with love, respect, adoration, interpersonal work, and communication. The key word being work. I have run into many people who did not realize that once you're married, you have to work at that relationship. And sadly, it doesn't end very well. Relating marriage to this theory does not diminish the romance. However, there is a similarity of learning how to be married and learning a specific discipline. As in any study or interest, there are many resources to obtain to get all the knowledge that you need, all of which are good options such as counseling and workshops, classes, therapy. Actually, over 22 years ago, my husband and I were highly encouraged to take a class called Making Marriage Work. We had no idea. We were newly engaged. We thought we were going to meet other newlyweds, make some friends, go have some drinks, and it would be a lot of fun. Little did we know that a lot of the tools that we learned back then we utilize today. One being, is it more important to be right or to get along? And that's for you to answer. I've read many books on love and relationship, including romance novels and the instructional books as well. Also listening to the very polarizing Dr. Laura Schlesinger. And in fact, I used to listen to her when I was young, as early as 8 years old, with my mom in the car. Although she can be myopic and extremely dogmatic, I do find value in the topics that she discusses and able to pull out some gems, which I will share with you in a bit. With all that information floating in my head, I created a guideline to which I follow in my marriage, and I also want to share that with you. But in a minute, I first want to discuss what my definition of a successful marriage is. A successful marriage, defined by me, is one that is filled with a partnership of two people that share everything from finances, childcare, life goals, parenting, money, and supporting one another with passions and aspirations. The fundamental foundation of my definition of marriage has to do with love and respect. Without respect, you don't have any of the qualities that make a marriage work. Honesty, admiration, adoration, and just plain regard for the other person. The other thing that I want to address is advice that we were given before we were married from a couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And both my husband and I walked up and said, "What is your secret?" And very clearly and concisely they said, "You just put the other person first." So when you want to go get a drink of water, you first ask your spouse if they want a drink of water. It sounds so simple, and at times it is, but I have been guilty of putting myself first, and when I do that bad habit, my relationship is affected. The other thing that I want to point out, and this is a doozy, And ladies, what I'm about to tell you, I've seen with my own eyes. And I know this to be true. Our mood dictates the mood of the house. I know that's huge, and to think we have that much power, but it's true. Think about it. When we're bitchy, our husbands react to that. But when we're loving and kind, our husbands or spouses reciprocate that same behavior. I've seen this scenario played out month after month after month. So circling back to Dr. Laura Schlesinger and her sometimes dogmatic advice, there is a theory that I feel holds true, and she says that men are simple creatures. This is not all a put down or a negative comment. In fact, it's quite a compliment. She's basically stating that men require very little for happiness. But on the other hand, women, we are way more complicated and require much more for happiness. And there was this cute story that I heard about a man coming home from work, and the woman opens up the door, and she's dressed in sexy lingerie with her arms wide open and just jumps on him. And he thinks first that he's at the wrong house. No, I'm kidding. That it's his birthday, and he reciprocates that level of affection immediately. The next day, the woman comes home from work. The man opens the door, and he's wearing his sexy getup, and he gives her a huge hug. And you know what happens? She's pissed. You know why? Because she figures all he wanted is sex. So I hope you get my point. So here's my unprofessional guide to a successful marriage. Feed your husband or spouse, make some love, and treat him with respect. I promise you will reap the rewards. Make him feel like a man, and he will treat you like a queen. So here's the love. Ask your partner if they want a drink of water before you get one for yourself.